Hi everyone, welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott, also known as CINERAM here on YouTube. I do the Thursday videos for the collab, and our theme this week is Ellen Page, who's an actress I admire quite a lot. She's very, very smart, has a great wit about her, and I would love nothing more to see her team up in a film with Jennifer Lawrence. I think the two of them would be very well matched. They could be friends, they could be adversaries, whatever, man, but just to see them, verbally sparring with each other would be totally awesome. My selection, oh, by the way, before I get to the film that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to recommend that everyone check out, of course, the other guys' videos on the channel, but most especially James, DVD Collector 1974. He did a review of a film that isn't all that popular, and that is Smart People, in which Ellen Page co-stars with Dennis Quaid and Thomas Hayden Church. Very, very good review by James there. One of the best I've seen from him, so be sure to check that out. I wanted to talk about Hard Candy, which is pretty much the first film that I saw her in, unless you count X-Men: The Last Stand, at which point she was like the third actress in 3 films to play the same character, Kitty Pryde, the girl who walks through walls. I understand that she is going to be reprising that character for the new X-Men film, Days of Future Past, which is supposed to come out next summer, 2014, and has a lot of the older X-Men cast members from the Bryan Singer films, as well as the core cast from X-Men First Class, which came out last year. Hey, wait a second. Jennifer Lawrence is in that, isn't she? She plays Mystique, right? So all she has to do is have a fight scene now with Kitty Pryde, and yeah, that'll be perfect. Okay, great, good. It's taken care of. Hard Candy is a really small-scale movie. It's directed by David Slade, and it was the first feature film I think that he had made. He'd done some other stuff before, but he went on to do a vampire movie called 30 Days of Night, and the third Twilight movie, Eclipse, which is a big sort of brawl between werewolves and newborns and the garden variety vampires. I wouldn't say I recommend that one, and I haven't seen 30 Days of Night, but I would definitely recommend Hard Candy. It is a real acting showcase, and there's basically just 2 characters in this movie. Sandra Oh has a very minor part, Sandra Oh from Grey's Anatomy. She doesn't really have a lot to do, but she's in it briefly. But the core is basically just Ellen Page's character named Haley, and Jeff, who is a professional photographer played by Patrick Wilson, who of course was Kate Winslet's leading man in Little Children, and was also Night Owl in Watchmen by Zack Snyder. So the photographer basically has been chatting with this girl online for a while now, and they meet up basically and get to chatting, and then she suggests that they go to his home because he has an MP3 that that he would like her to hear, and this whole scene right here, because he's like a guy he has to be like in his early 30s at the youngest. He could be in his late 30s. I'm not really sure, but she is somewhere around 14, 15 years old, something like that. I don't really know how old Ellen Page was when she played the character, but she's very young. So the whole situation is just extremely creepy. He drives her to his home, in which he has his own little photography studio in there, and there's a lot of work around on his walls, and they get to talking about this and that and the other thing, and then she says, how about we have some drinks? What do you got in your fridge here? Ooh, vodka, huh? Let's have some screwdrivers. The guy's like, I don't know. And it isn't long before they've had a couple of these beverages that he passes out, and then wakes up to find himself tied to a chair. And then, as it turns out, Haley tells him what she's really up to. She has targeted him. She has taken on a number of different personas, including the Haley persona, which probably isn't her real name, and has basically auditioned him, kind of. She's tried out these different teenage personas, claiming to be young and then revealing, so-called, that she's actually older, at which point he apparently loses interest. So she created the Haley persona to trap him and to get him in a situation where she could find out what he was really up to, because she's also sort of an amateur sleuth investigating the disappearance of a girl, and she thinks this guy might have been involved with that, might have had something to do with it. So while he's tied up, She's questioning him, she's questioning his motives, his actions, she's reading his emails, she's searching his house for incriminating evidence, and she says, when she, she's like, I'm not going to call the cops on you because, I mean, what's going to happen with them? You're going to get a lawyer and stuff like that. I'm going to make sure that you can't do this anymore. So I've got a little medical textbook right here, and it gives you a step-by-step procedure on how to perform basically she's going to cut his balls off. She ties him up basically to a table and puts ice over his genitals to numb it, and she sets up a video camera for the screen for him to see it, and everything like that. And things just get really, really hairy from there. Kind of reminds me of a movie that came out a little bit later called Teeth, in which the main character is a girl with vagina dentata. And she accidentally, severs the penises of a few guys that she's having sex with accidentally. But it won't. At a certain point, she starts to do it intentionally. You should have heard the people reacting to this in the theater. The guys in the theater going, "Ah!" But the thing is, it's played more for comical effect in that movie. I didn't see Hard Candy in the theater, so I don't know how other people reacted to it exactly in real time. But it's not played for laughs at all. It's pretty serious business, and this guy tied up basically, and he's just anticipating what's going to happen. She's going to be, severing his testicles from the rest of his body, and he's screaming at her, please, please don't, I'll do anything you want, I'll give you any kind of money you want, I'll turn myself to the cops, I'll move to a different town, blah, blah, blah. She's not having it. She keeps poking at him and finding holes in his motivation, what have you, yeah, she's extremely smart, but she also might be slightly crazy to actually go to all these lengths. She's very, very well prepared, maybe a little bit too well prepared. It's a little bit unrealistic just how, together she is in this whole situation. But yeah, it's a pretty disturbing film, pretty crazy. I want to say a little bit something about the camera work here. One thing I found interesting is there's a lot of telephoto lenses used. And by that I mean it's like the kind of lens where you stand across the room but then you zoom in really tight on something rather than planting the camera right in front of an object. You take the shot from far away, but you zoom in so you get this compression of the image, kind of like looking at a scene through a telescope. And there's a lot of that in this movie, and there's a lot of the photographer's home is very sort of modern and sort of white and clean, and it's not an old style house. Oftentimes, the bad guys in movies will have extremely modern homes, whereas the good guys will have more old-fashioned homes. But the camera work's very tricky in that it doesn't show a lot of the interior design. You see a table here, a chair here, you see a bit of the kitchen, but the guy's got photographs all over the place of his work, and presumably the reason why the camera is avoiding all this stuff is because they can't actually show it. The photographer makes his living shooting models, some of whom are younger than 18 years old, and presumably they're in states of undress, and which is why they can't actually show them in the film. He's a fashion photographer, he's an art photographer, but still there's a line that he might be crossing there, even in regards to just what he's putting up as the walls. He's like, when people walk into my house, they're walking into my portfolio, and they can see my work, so they can see, what to expect and things like that. But a lot of it remains unseen, and that's either a deliberate choice to avoid showing something that you can't even show in an R-rated movie because the girls in question are too young, or they just didn't have the time to shoot all those photographs. And so, that's why they deliberately avoided showing them, because they're just not there. Remember the spoon in the room? The spoon, the picture of the spoon basically is this set decoration that moves all over Tommy Wiseau's apartment, presumably because they didn't have enough pictures to just decorate the whole place. They just took the picture of the spoon and moved it everywhere. That's why you see it in so many scenes. And that kind of reminded me of this. But a really, really good movie. Very, very intense and pretty grim, and it's an intense experience. So if you're up for that kind of thing, you could do worse. So thanks very much for watching. We got a new theme starting Friday, which will be the last of our 4 weeks on Inception actors. So thank you for watching again, and be sure to check out the other guys, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.